right, artists, we're ready to begin our project on silhouettes, and we need to first prepare our background. We know that a silhouette is an outline of a shape, dark, no features, no details, just an outline of a black shape that is against a lighter background. So we're going to start off with that light background, and we're going to use watercolor paint. Of course, you need water and a brush for that. Suppose you don't have any watercolors at home. If that's the case, you can use markers. And notice I'm painting a sunset. I have my warm colors all pulled out here. And I'm going to show you how to do the sunset for your silhouette with either paint or markers. So if you're ready, so am I. Let's get started. An important part of painting a sunset or painting sunshine colors with watercolors is getting the colors to blend. And one of the easiest ways to do that, I'm going to set this aside just a little, is to make sure that the paper is damp. Not soaking wet, mind you, but just a little bit moist so that the colors will go on easily and they'll blend. So the very first step would be to get water on your brush and start low and very quickly spread out some water all over the whole paper. Now right away your paper is going to curl up a little, see there? And you can just hold your finger on it and get your paint all the way across and from end to end and top to bottom. Now, if you want to do it another way, you can take a paper towel. You can dip it in your water, but you have to squeeze it out. Remember, damp, not soaking wet. And you can kind of rub your paper down too. So that works a little faster, but either way, we're going to start off our sunset by dampening the paper. And there it is. Now I'm going to work with my warm colors, and I'm going to start with yellow first. So I don't know if you can see all this. I've got a tight work spot here. But I am going to add some water into the receptacle, make a puddle. See my puddle there? Gotta have it. Bring some more water in, stir it up, make sure the paint has a chance to mix, and then watch what we're gonna do. We are going to start painting kind of bottom, and we are going to take it up a little ways. Ooh, I'm getting lots of paint on my brush. And I am going outward. Now, I'm doing this rather sketchy. I don't want white spaces, but I don't have to be really slow and careful about it. Okay, there we go. Now, while that is still wet, I'm going to make a puddle in my orange. And rub-a-dub-dub. I'm going to need a little more water in there. The trick is don't paint too dry. And then I am going to overlap just a little. Overlap means come into the yellow a little bit with my orange puddle. And I'm going to move that out to the side. Now, you can see wherever it's dark, I'm going to use a little water to blend it out. And here's the deal. I want to keep kind of a shape like this in the center so that it looks like the ball of the sun is setting. All right, a little orange and yellow over here. Out to the edges and bring it in. It is okay. And if I get too dark in here, I'm going to bring some more yellow back in or some more water. And let that push back out. There we go. You really cannot make a mess with this. You're really going to be on the right track. I'm going to put some more yellow up in here. All right. I didn't finish this corner down here. Little water on my brush, little puddle. And I'm going to finish the orange here. All right. So now I have a nice section of my paper. And you can kind of see my sunset really has begun. All right, while my paper is damp, because I'm working pretty quickly here, a little more dark orange over in here. And I notice I have this one spot at the bottom That's going to be covered up with our silhouette, so I don't really have to worry about it much. Next, bring your puddle over to the red. Bring some water in, make a puddle, rub around in that puddle, and then I'm going to kind of overlap the orange a little bit. It's okay if they touch one another. And now my sunset is starting to grow. Right here where I lost my orange, I'm going to come back in with some more orange on my brush and replace it, because it is okay. Orange and red will blend beautifully. Now I see it's a little dark here. I'm going to come back and grab some yellow. Yeah. There we go. Now I'm getting it. And I got my red going. More puddle in the red. I'm going to use that a little bit more. And I'm going to take it on up. Now my red can be a little darker because we're moving up into the sky. And there we go. And then my last step is going to be blue. So I'm going to make a puddle in my blue, bring some water over on my brush. There's the puddle. And I'm just going to rub around a little bit. And my last step will be to take the blue all the way up to the top. As the sun is setting, we still see a little bit of that blue up in the sky. And then look, I'm going to bring a little streaks of that blue down in here. Puddle, up. Oh yeah. Don't let your brush get too dry now. Get a little more blue. Take it up. And I'll tell you, you can have, as the very end of this sunset, at the very end, I'm going to get a little water on my brush and grab just a touch of purple. Now, I don't want my brush to be dripping, and I'm going to do purple right up here at the very edge. Not too much, because now I'm starting to see what looks like to me a Wyoming sunset. We are so lucky here because we get a good view of those sunsets all the time. In St. Louis, with the tall buildings and all the trees, you rarely see a sunset like we do here. So, lucky us. Don't feel shy about bringing a little blue down in here, just very lightly, barely touching. Yeah, that's okay. All right. So the secret is damp paper. Then you work from yellow to orange to red and to blue. It's very important that you stay in that order. If we were to jump from yellow to blue, our sky would look green. If we would jump from from orange to blue, we'd get mud in our sky, just a muddy color. So it's important, yellow, orange, red, and blue. Now, I'm going to set this aside to let it dry, and I'm going to show those of you that only have markers how to do the same thing with markers. Stand by. Okay, so I have another piece of paper here. It's just a piece of computer paper, so it's going to take the water a little differently, but look at my poor stubby yellow, and it's almost out. So, of course, it's going to change a little bit when I'm showing you here. What I do have is that crazy highlighter yellow. So I'm going to use some of that, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to scribble that sunshine shape, that ball of the sun, very sketchy, like so. All right. And then I'm going to come in here. If you have yellow-orange, you can do some yellow-orange surrounding it. And notice how I'm letting this yellow-orange kind of go into the sun area of yellow. Yes. Overlap it a little bit. This can come all the way out to the edge. But what I'd most likely do, and boy, I have a pitiful set of markers here. Let me come in with my dark orange and kind of finish over here. And so basically, you're doing what we did with the paint, only you're doing it by coloring it with marker. And I'm going to go up. Now, what did we say was next after the yellow, then orange, then, that's right, red. Overlap a little. mix together right here and color up the page, and then we would go into blue and then purple. So what I'll do now is take my watercolor brush and my water, and I'm just going to paint over this. And as I do, the watercolor will start to loosen up the markers, the watercolor markers will loosen up that color, and you'll be able to paint with it. Okay? And that's kind of a handy thing to do. Now I know this poor computer paper is not the best example, but if you do markers on the good paper that I sent home with you, you're going to be pleased. And then you're just going to paint your sunset the same way you were shown with the watercolor paint. And in the end, you might have a little more texture marks in there, some lines in your sunset, but it's still going to be really attractive and a good background for your silhouette. Okay, does everybody kind of see how that goes? Now you're noticing here some darkness in the paper, and that's because the paper is totally saturated. When this dries, you'll see more of the yellow and this dark areas, they'll go away. That just means extra watery in those spots. And here I go blending it. Now, if you say, well, I want to get more red in there, well, while the paper is wet, you can just color in there and you'll get that extra color that you want. And you can even go back in with your brush and kind of blend it out a little bit more, okay? So a little different than the watercolor paints, but it works and it looks just good, just great. So that's it. We're ready to set this aside and start the silhouette part of our project. Okay, we're ready to start the silhouette part, and I have the black piece of paper that came home with you in your packet. And I also have 2 pieces of computer paper. And here's the reason why. We are going to sketch out our silhouette on this scrap paper first. Then we can trace it onto the black and then cut it out. All the mistakes will be made here so they can be erased. Once we put it on this paper, we know this is our good to go paper, and we want to work out all of our mistakes before we get here. So here's what I'm going to do. I need a piece of paper that is as long and as wide as this black strip. And I can get the width, but if you can see this very well, you see we're about 1 inch short here. So what I'm going to do is lay my black strip of paper down right in the corner. Here we go. And I am going to get this up so you can see it, for one thing. Whoops. All right, got it here. And I am going to draw a line across the bottom. And there it is. Can you see that? Barely. Well, I'm going to do it again. I have to do it on 2 pieces of paper. You ready? Match the corner. Match the top. And then I'm going to use my pencil to trace along the bottom. And now I know you can see that. There you go. I am then going to cut out those 2 white pieces of paper. There's one. And I can see this line, you probably can't. I'm going to cut it there. Oops. Stay in your lines, people. Don't be like Mrs. Barnes going off kilter here. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to overlap these papers just a little bit. You see how you can see that overlap? And I'm going to tape my paper together like so to hold them together. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to put my black paper here. All of this to show you how to get a piece of scrap paper that is exactly the same size as your black paper. So I'm going to draw a line down. And looky what I've got. I now have a piece of scrap paper that is exactly the same size as my good silhouette paper. You ready? All of our drawing is going to go on here. This will just trace and cut. All right, so let's take a look. We are doing a landscape. And a landscape, as you already know, is a drawing of the great outdoors. So what we need, first of all, is the line that is between the sky and the ground. Let me hear it. It is the, if you said horizon line, you would be absolutely correct. Notice, it is a very low horizon line. I have plenty of sky up here. Now I'm going to do a tree. I'm going to do a house. I don't want it to be too complicated because we have to cut this all out of the black paper. So let's go simple. Simple outlines are all we need here. I want to start out with a house. You could put it here, you could put it in the middle, you could put it to the right. I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to give it, of course, when I say simple, all I'm looking for is a very simple house. We're going back to, hey, first grade, when you drew houses like this. Yeah, we can handle that. I even want a little chimney here. How about you? You don't have to. I might actually want to do a second part of my house, just a little, and I'm going to draw the roof that comes out the side. Now you know none of these inside lines are going to show. So if I can find my eraser in this vast amount of junk I have on my desk, I am going to erase the lines on the inside because we won't see them, and I want to kind of get an idea of what this silhouette's going to look like. All right, there's my house. Okay, now I see I have this nice open spot here. I've got plenty of spots here. One of the things I'm going to do right off the bat is put a bush. Just a lump. People, you can do it, right? Now the easiest way to draw a tree, and I'm going pine tree here, is to draw a triangle that almost touches the ground. There it is. I'm going to overlap the top and draw a second one. And I'm going to overlap the top of that triangle and draw my third one. And then maybe a little stump, yes? Now remember, it's a silhouette. None of the details on the inside are going to show. So when we cut this out, it's going to look like that. All right, I'm starting to see how this works. Yeah. And so if you're very brave and you want to do a tree that has branches, remember, you've got to cut it all out. So decide, go from fat to skinny till it's absolutely just a line. All right. And then I'm going to make this very simple. Fat to skinny. Fat to skinny. I'm going to have to cut these out, so I don't want to go too crazy, folks. And now, it doesn't look like a telephone pole where everything is, you know, side by side. One here, go up, one there. Go up, one here, go up, one there. And I think I'm done. All right, time for another kind of tree, and it's a bush tree, so I'm going to put that right there. And then I want a house that looks like it's way far off in the distance, so I'm going to move over, and I am just going to do the simplest kind of house. There it is. And then I might do another one of these trees. And so I'm going to make it a little smaller, so I'm going to keep the first triangle close to the ground, stump. I'm going to overlap the top with a second smaller triangle, and then I'm going to do one more. This is it. That's pretty good for my silhouette. Remember, none of these inside lines are going to show. It's just going to be a black outline against that light sky. This would be it, people. This is quite enough of a landscape to do, and I would then be ready to cut this out, lay it on top of my black piece of paper, trace it, and cut that out. So I'm going to show you how that goes. First thing I'm going to do is cut it out. Now I'm going to start you off here, just really quick. I'm going to go into the stump. I'm going to go in here and cut that out. Gone. Boom. and I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna come in from the outside. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna go in from the outside, and I'm gonna go up. Cut that whole thing off. That's right, the sunset's gonna be behind it. Now it's gonna get a little tricky. So I'm gonna go all the way over to the house and down. Then I can kind of bend this paper a little and go in here and in here and all the way over. Oh yeah, you see what I'm talking about not getting too hairy with your details. I hope you have some smaller scissors at home. There we go. I'm gonna get my scissors in there and cut down this side. Yes, and cut down this side. Be careful. Get rid of my scraps. All right, and I'm gonna continue cutting this. You can start drawing and cutting yours, and then we'll meet up when we're done. All right, see you soon. Okay, I'm back, and you can see that I did take the time and I cut out my whole little design that I made, and when I put it against the black, it's sort of a reverse silhouette. You can see the white against the black. You kind of get a feel for what it's gonna look like. So what I've done here is I pulled some little tabs of tape, sorry, and I'm gonna kind of roll them. Do you know how to do that, where you kind of make a roll of tape? And I'm gonna lift up my white pattern, and I'm gonna tape it down so it doesn't move. I'm gonna use, now I use this painter's tape because I had it in my drawer, you know, there we go, a little roll of tape. But I have my cowl with Scotch tape here to show you that you can also use Scotch tape, and then you take it and you kind of fold it on itself to make a little roll. And I might want to hold my house down with it so it doesn't move, just lightly, very lightly. This guy's going to be a bummer because he's very tiny, so I'm not going to tape him. I'm just going to trace very carefully around him. Now, if you have a white colored pencil, it would be lovely to trace it with a white colored pencil because you can see it against the black paper better. All right, and I do have a white colored pencil, so I'm going to do that. This is taped into place, and basically I'm going to kind of hold my fingers on here, and I'm going to, did you just see that? My lead fell out of my pencil. Fiddlesticks. All right, I'm going back with a regular pencil. You can see that too. And I'm very carefully, my pencil's really dull. You'll need a sharp pencil for this. I'm going to trace around my white lines. If I lift this up, you can see. Well, no, you can't. But you can see it, not on the video, but you can see it in person. And I'm going to trace around my pattern. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut it out again, this time out of the black paper. So trace your pattern onto your black paper. Use a really sharp pencil. Tape it down in place so it doesn't move, but some things you'll just have to hold as you go around. And when it's done, you'll be able to peel your pattern off, okay? And then you'll be able to cut out the design, the silhouette from the black paper. So let's do all of that, and then we'll meet up after it's cut out of the black. Ready? Good. Okay, we are well on our way to completing our silhouette project, and I just wanted to say something right up front. What I did here was mainly show you the different types of bushes and trees that you could do. Your silhouette does not have to include this many elements because by now you have already discovered it's tough to cut all of this out. So keep your design simple. And there you go. You've got an example. Now, I don't know if you can see it if I move it up to the camera, but you can see pencil lines on this side. And so, of course, this is not the side I'd want to be up on my beautiful sunset. This would be the side where the pencil marks are, would be the side that I want to put glue on. So there again, I'm just going to kind of show you real quick. I'm going to take my trusty glue stick, and I'm going to use a placemat, and I am going to kind of go in one direction, upward. Oops, hold it as best you can. I'm staying to the edges as best I can. Now this is tricky. Not sure if any of you were brave enough to do a tree like that. I'm going to move it on my placemat a little further down and up. Something tears, let the glue dry, and then kind of tape it. And now that I've got my glue on there, I'm going to take my beautiful sunset painting. I'm going to make sure that it is at the very bottom. We don't want sunshine showing below. Very bottom of our paper. Over completely, oops, not quite, to one side and the other. And then I'm going to gently press it all down. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a silhouette. There it is with our beautiful light background with just the shapes and outlines that are the hallmark of a silhouette on the bottom. Okay, makes sense? Congratulations, you just completed some silhouette art. And do you realize how tricky it must be then to cut a portrait in profile of a person freehand? Can we admire that skill here just for a moment? Indeed. Great job, people. Put all your work on the portal. It's good to see that you actually are keeping up and doing some of this. Hope you're having fun with it. If you have any questions, email me. You know I'm always here for you. All right, have a great week. Let's see what you can do. Love you. See you later. Bye.